Hello, hello, hello! I am Kasasagi Usagi, and I am here with more Pillars of Eternity. I just knocked something over while trying to turn on a light. It's probably fine. Things crashing everywhere. Okay, so I said I would get us to Defiance Bay, and the information that I found online was very much like, just find it. Just go there. But I think I needed to do a quest over here at this broken bridge. The only thing that I did was there was some looters down here, if anyone remembers that. I sure didn't. And I stole from them, and then they attacked me, and I got some fairy supplies. And then this person right here, wait, right there, has a quest, I believe, for me. And I think this will all sort itself out, and we can continue on. If you're waiting for Madhir Bridge to get repaired, you're going to be here for a long time. Crossing here isn't an option. What destroyed the bridge? The river has been rising on account of all the storms. Here where the river narrows, the flooding did the most damage. The Orlan woman folds her arms, a scowl overtaking her face. Guess they didn't make things to last around here, do they? One of the stone columns collapsed in the flash flood, taking the whole middle section of the bridge out to sea. Madhir Bridge was the most direct route from Gilded Vale to Defiance Bay. Merchants and travelers now have to find boat passage to add days of extra travel to the loop around the bay. So I started a ferry service, thinking I'd earn some coin and help others cross over the bay. Peregrine shakes her head, her ears twitching as she speaks, and that was a bigger mistake than that time I allowed a cipher to court me. Mistake? How so? I've been attempting to turn a quick copper, but she bites her lip, her face turning flushed with anger. Just my luck, the blasted currents threw my ferry into the rocks, dashed it and my profits to pieces. Making matters worse, when I went on the prowl the shore to salvage what shipping crates didn't sink, a pair of looters attacked me. She stomps her foot into the ground. The damn brigands had the nerve to attack. I managed to avoid harm, but now they have stolen by force all that is left of my fortune. She eyes you for a long second, her hand cupping her chin. You know what? You look like you'd fare better against those looters than little old me. Could I enlist your help? Would these happen to be your wares? Peregrine's ears twitch with excitement as you drop the supplies down in front of her. Thank you! I was beginning to think it all had sunk into the bottom of the river. She reaches into her tunic pocket and hands something to you. Consider this a small token of my gratitude. I will reward you properly when you visit my shop at Defiance Bay. Well, this hasn't actually solved my problems at all. The bridge is, in fact, still broken. Yeah. Well, maybe this has unlocked a path of some sort. That is my only hope at this point. Well, I actually think I have to go to that one place with the dragons. In fact, I would probably guarantee it. I'm gonna go try, I think I did this already, but I'm gonna try and go this way first, and if that still doesn't work, then I'm gonna go south. And we'll die and fight our way through those hordes of dragons. Hey, I did have to complete that quest, for whatever strange reason, but the point is it's done. As you near, you feel a vibrant history contained in the essence of this woman's soul. Voices from its past seem to call out to you. You see a lavishly decorated room, walls hung with tapestries, ornate oil lamps creating a warm, relaxing atmosphere. There are several overstuffed couches covered with silk pillows and an elegant table in the middle of the floor. This woman is seated at the table, sitting across from another woman. They are both well dressed, their style befitting the room they're in. The other woman's hair is blonde, in stark contrast with this woman's black. She is swept up, it is swept up in her on her head in a dramatic style. The women speak in easy, free tone, obviously familiar with one another. Though they seem to be comfortable in each other's company, a strange nervousness surrounds the blonde woman's actions. She occasionally betrays herself with a little giggle or stammer, hitching over an easy word as she speaks. Her demeanor swings from friendly to shy and then back again with no warning. Though they seem to be comfortable in one another's... Oh. The woman leans back a little in her chair, stretching lightly. As she finishes her stretch, she gently lays her hand next to the other woman's hand, letting their fingers subtly intertwine. The second woman stops speaking mid-sentence, inhales sharply, and turns red. She does not, however, move her hand. This woman smiles and moves her hand further over the other's, holding it. She then stands, moving around the table towards the blonde woman, whose face shows conflicting emotions of terror and lust. She giggles and pulls her hand out from under the other and brings it to her mouth, the red of her face deepening. This woman stops, looking down at her, eyes sparkling. She reaches out and pulls something from the blonde's hair, letting it fall around her shoulders. Then she leans over, brushing her lips lightly over the blonde woman's cheek, resting her mouth against her ear. As she whispers, her hand moves lithely down the other woman's body to her waist. The blonde shudders and leans into the hand, eyes closing, cheek pressing against the lips, still whispering in her ear. This woman's hand deftly removes a small bag from the other woman's belt and secretes it under her own cloak at the small of her back. Then she gently kisses the other woman's cheeks and stands again, the smile never leaving her mouth. Aw, I thought it was going to be sweet, and then it was a robbery. Who did I just talk to? You see a ship being tossed in a storm-ravaged sea. The swells rise and fall, carrying the ship with them as if it were a toy. The man stands on deck at the helm of the ship, while water whips around him. The crew moves frantically, trying to keep the chaos under control. He barks orders at them, pointing where to go and giving each one a task. The men, while still visibly distressed, seem to calm down when they are given their orders. He instructs the helmsmen to resume their duties at the wheel and rushes to the aid of a crewman who is struggling with a rope attached to one of the sails. The ship crests a wave, going almost vertical in one direction, and then immediately again in the other direction. Several of the crew are thrown from their feet, sliding across the deck as the ship is rocked. After the swell passes and the ship returns to a relatively normal orientation, the man quickly scans the deck, counting silently. No one has been lost this time, thankfully. He looks in the direction they're headed, seeing no reprieve from the storm in sight. His jaw squared and his upper lip stiffened. He returns to the helm and takes the wheel again. Oh, do you all have stories? Oh, thank goodness. You see a flurry of matted white hair, incandescent freeze-fire staff before you see the man, cold and wild. He chews a wizened apple slowly, discharging spell after spell in a jumble of villagers screeching their way towards him. Cold flame vents from his nose, and apple seeds shoot out of the side of his mouth as he saunters forward, ignoring arrows and curses alike. A deliberate twist of his staff, and a bullet of force glides through the torso of one assailant, and another. A roar blisters his throat, and he launches himself into their midst, tearing into their essence with his staff. A pleading hand reaches towards him, and quickly falls ignored. Silence takes hold as the tattooed man gathers his prize, a basket of fresh pears, and he hums as he eats. All that murder for some pears. Don't mind me, I'm just about to do a robbery. Oh, I'm so excited to finally be here.
Defiance Bay, the city at the heart of the Deerwoods Revolution, now seems on the brink of another. Refugees line the streets, homeless and hungry, displaced by Whiteone's legacy, hoping for relief within the city walls, and finding none. Dissidents congregate to protest and to heckle, calling for an end to animancy and the ouster of their duke. The city's militiamen cast fearful looks as they patrol the streets, their hands trembling at the hilts of their weapons. The capital of a country that had not long ago incinerated a god now appears to be a spark away from sharing the deity's fate.
It's dark. Kitty! First.
Defiance Bay. I miss Adir already.
You are just a bundle of sunshine, Aloth. I just love traveling with you and how much you complain. You are very dear to me, and I hope nothing ever happens to you. I'm hesitant to talk to all these people. What is it? I am looking for the Temple of Vodaka. Huh, if you say so. It's in the first fires just west of Crucible Keep. Neat. Ooh.
Hail and well met.
Oh. Rowan's arms are crossed and his mouth is set in a grim frown as he watches the gathered protesters. He looks ready for a fight. He sizes you up. New in town, eh? You picked an interesting time to visit Defiance Bay. All the refugees fleeing the frontier and finding the legacies no better here. It's the Animancers. Marigrants scorch them and they nest in this city like rats. You mark my words, though. Us dozens are gonna put a stop to it. What are you doing out here? He gestures at the crowd, which buzzes with angry chatter, trying to get folk to see reason. We're in the midst of a crisis, and instead of purging the nefarious forces from our city, the Duke is granting Animancers dangerous liberties. What do you know about Animancy? It's a study and manipulation of essence, which any sane person will tell you is the purview of the gods. The Adarians, at least, had the sense to outlaw it, which is the only good thing you can say about them. It's not like magic chanting or the soul readings those ciphers do. It's been around since ancient Ingwethian times, which is why you'll see Animancers tinkering with old Ingwethian artifacts. Kana raises a fist to cough directly into it. Half-truths and all. But he's an enthusiastic performer, I'll give him that. He shakes his head. Trouble is, the Animancers got no idea what half those artifacts actually do, not that they'll admit it. Our empathetic friend is correct about one thing, at least. Tell me about the dozens. He taps his chest. We're an organization of interested citizens who want to free Defiance Bay from the dangerous influence of Animancers and the tyranny of the aristocrats who support them. We also consider ourselves a militia of sorts, seeing as the Crucible Knights are little more than a flock of preening nobles in training these days. Just like a militia, the dozens, except for the training and the discipline and the code of honor. His eyes gleam. And we're always looking to expand. The more people who see things our way, the better for the state of the country. You have any interest in hearing more? Stop by Adameth's Den sometime. The Expedition Hall. A lot of free thinkers in there. Can set straight all the nonsense the nobles and the Animancers want you to believe. Might even be paid to work there for the motivated types. I would like to know more about Defiance Bay. This is the capital of the Free Plenteret of the Direwood. We started out at the capital of the Adrian colony, but we booted the Flaccid Scepter from these lands 150 years ago. These days, we're a major port receiving trade and visitors from all over the world, but we, some of us anyway, strive to hold on to the pioneering spirit that earned us our freedom a century and a half ago. The city is divided into 5 districts. Copper Lane, First Fires, Andra's Gift, Blackenbury, and Heritage Hill. He ticks them off on each. He ticks out each off on a callous finger. Oh boy! Tell me about Copper Lane. This here is Copper Lane. He taps a scuffed boot on the cobblestones. It's primarily a market district, but you've also got the Expedition Hall directly north of here, where you can join treks into the wilds. There's also my fellow dozen martyrs, and I tend to meet up with other concerned citizens. He points to a long domed building west of the north of your position. And that's the Hall of Revealed Mysteries. Eerie place, you ask me, but they got the biggest library in the Direwood. Kana laughs. Eerie indeed. It might be less so if more kith stepped inside. Perhaps we ought to visit Kasasagi and see just what mysteries are revealed. Tell me about Brackenbury. A noise of disgust ruddles in his throat. The nobility that didn't sail back to Adir stayed there. Most of the families there traced their lineage back to old imperial times. Other than a lot of has-been nobility, you've got Hadrit House, where Lady Webb and her spies operate, and Brackenbury Sanitarium, the main cesspit of animosity in the city. He spits on the cobblestones. Tell me about the first fires. That's where the revolution started, hence the name. These days it's overrun with politicians and panderers, but we'll take it back someday. That's where you'll find the Ducal Palace, the Valiant Embassy, and the Crucible Keep. He shakes his head. The Crucible Knights were the original freedom fighters in Defiance Bay, but now they're just strutting peacocks with their eyes on fancy titles and their heads up their asses. There's an old Temple of Vodaka there, too. We keep it real nice for her. He winks. Tell me about Andra's gift. Got the name because it was a wetland that was drained back in the imperial times. Now it's a seedy district populated by sailors, common folk, and more than a few thugs, but it's a fun place too if you know where to look. He winks and elbows you. Look for a place called the Salty Mast while you're there. Other than that, it's mostly warehouses and abandoned homes. And tell me about Heritage Hill. He shivers. It used to be one of the most prestigious districts in the city. Heroes of the Revolution claimed plots up there next to the ancient Ingwethian Tower and the city cemetery. Had the best views in Defiance Bay. Attracts richer types these days. A lot of animancy patrons. He spits. He glances at the crowd and lowers his voice. You wouldn't have heard, but something happened over there a couple months ago. The authorities sealed it off, and they're keeping their mouths shut. But mark my words, animancy's to blame. We're done here. With you, sir. Oh my goodness, it's so pretty here. Let's just go everywhere, I suppose. Oh, this looks like a bar. Oh, there's gonna be a lot of reading. Take a sip before I, Okay. Let's do it. You see a fire burning slowly on the side of a winding road, unmanned. There seems to be no fuel, no wood, or oil for it to consume, no hay or twigs. Despite this, it roars, cackles, wails in the wind. It takes you a moment, but you begin to notice a figure in the flames. Its shaking hands cradle a young face, molten red tears marring the skin color of coal. The boy cowers, a flame coating him as he holds his knees to his chest. In the distance, a man approaches, faceless. He extends a hand towards the frightened child, who considers it warily before taking it. The flames die down, leaving his limbs settling on his head like an obedient pet. All tears dried, they walk together, fire and death, hand in hand. You see a wizard playing illusions in a town square, fingers plucking color and sound from the air, and weaving scenes of beauty and fright. A crowd of onlookers gasps and cheers, enthralled with the display. All but one boy, standing off to the side, mouth agape. Green eyes are pale with wonder, vision after vision playing out before him, and something inside the boy clicks. Without warning, he bolts, disappearing into the crowd, pushing and shoving desperately. The mage finishes his show soon after, a giant silver dragon descending through the crowd and 1,000 stars exploding into nothingness. Collecting coins, he walks around at the clapping crowd, bowing and nodding at each as he passes, until a small sack is dropped into his hands. The boy stands for a moment before him, small and still, and begs the wizard to apprentice him. He glances at the hefty bag, weighing it, and the boy, carefully. Finally he nods and flicks gently at the bag, which disappears. The boy grins. "How'd you do that?" he asks, but the illusionist merely winks. You see a hand, curled and bruised, staked to the floor with a bent metal spike. Blood covers the floor and drips from the furnishings and walls. This man looks up from the body he is crouched over to survey the carnage he caused to the family in whose house he now shulks. 4 bodies total. A woman, 2 young men, and a girl lie blindfolded on the ground. Their legs are bound and hands are attached to the floor with spikes. He has lifted the woman's blindfold and is currently doing something to her eyes. He pulls back a small blade and covers the eyes again, gently patting the blindfold. He stands and looks around, seemingly satisfied with his handiwork. Suddenly his breath quickens, hearing someone approach the door to the room. He bounces in place, excitement almost overwhelming him, and then he rushes to the back of the room, concealing himself in the shadows. From his vantage, he sees the bodies are perfectly arranged, each one facing the door, welcoming the man of the house back, arms outstretched as if in embrace. The door opens as he slowly pulls another spike from his belt, the tip of his tongue playing across his teeth in anticipation. Oh, I am glad we did not get more graphic than that. This is fun little music. Oh. You see an unimpressive gathering of wild Orlans in ceremonial dress, shaded by a corpse of ancient oaks. Underneath the largest oak stand two young Orlans, hands clasped, eyes clear as they promise to care and love one another in the joining of their clans. An older Orlan steps towards them to speak, beard seeming to sprout from directly underneath his eyes. He declares their union complete. The jubilant Orlan clans carry the newly wedded couple away to their tent with snorts of laughter and crude jokes, leaving the older Orlan to sit alone beneath the age-old oak. He sighs, observing the scene in the distance. He whispers a quiet benediction, glad for their gladness, and melts into the trees without another word. He has seen enough happiness for one day. A woman sits by herself, spinning something on the table in front of her and watching it with furious intensity. It's about the size of a coin, and it wobbles over a crack in the wood with a metallic rattle. She snatches it up in one hand and slams a half-empty cup down on the table with the other. This is not a good time. You look like you could use another drink. I'll get there. She takes a long drink from her glass, just trying to calm down and trying to talk myself out of something foolish. Something foolish? She says nothing for a few moments, as if hoping you'll leave. At last, Canara looks up at you. The lamplight falls across her face. A purpling bruise is blossoming along her cheekbone. There is something I need to give my fiancé, Persnick. Only he doesn't seem to go anywhere without his new friends, and they're not exactly pleasant company. Who hit you? She shakes her head. I know how this looks, but you don't understand. It's not like Persnick. It's these new friends of his. They've brought out the worst in him. Tell me about these new friends. They come into our house with their dead eyes and their black teeth. I'm not a fool. I know what it means. Persnick makes me leave when they show up, but it's obvious what they come to do. Last time they came, I told them to get out. Let them have their fun out somewhere else in the gift, but not under my roof. She scowls and then winces, her fingertips gently probing her bruise. Stuff changes, I guess. The Persnick I knew wouldn't have squashed a spider. I never thought he'd... She trails off, still feeling the swollen, discolored flesh. I thought Sev just made people lie around, not doing much. She shrugs. I don't really know. Seen better than believing he's always been this way. Maybe I could go talk to him. Her hand rests on the table and she clenches it into a white-knuckled fist. There's nothing more to say to him. We're finished. I just want to give this back to him and have a clean break. She opens her hand and a ring clatters onto the table. It was his grandmother's. Even after this, I don't have the heart to sell it off. But if I go back there myself, I know what'll happen. I lose my temper, and I probably wind up with another one of these. She points to her bruise. But I've heard you're trustworthy. If you give this back to him, he'll know we're done. I will take this ring to Persnick, then. She looks at you and nods. The house is just north of here. Just please don't hurt him. As furious as I am, I don't want that on my conscience. I bet I can, but it'll ruin my reputation, I imagine. Ooh.
I can do that.
Yes.
That's settled.
Is this stealing? But there's no one here that can see me.
Keeping an eye out.
Yeah. Yeah, chicken. Hello, hello. I didn't steal nothing. Your secret's safe with me. You see a mud-soaked clearing, rain falling on the ground in large drops. This man is lying on his back in the muck, his hands holding open the maw of an enormous stelgar that stands over him, its front paws on his chest. The heavy rain falls over them, playing counterpoint to the grunts made by the opponents. Dead stelgar litter the ground around them, and the man's body shows signs of a difficult battle. His clothing is torn, hanging in scraps in some places. Bites and scratches cover his arms and legs. A huge gash cuts across his forehead, blood and water mixing as they run down his face and drip into the mud. It takes all the man's effort to keep the beast's jaws from clamping down. The man looks around wildly until his gaze finally lands on a large axe lying barely within the arm's reach behind his head, the rain slowly covering it with grime and muddy water. He looks at the stelgar and then back at his axe, grim determination on his face. His arms are shaking, and it seems he will not be able to hold the beast back for much longer. He takes a deep breath and wraps his right hand around the stelgar's bottom jaw, then lets go with his left hand, freeing the top of its head. The stelgar's mouth snaps shut on his right hand, and his left shoots out barely above his head and grabs the handle of his axe. The stelgar grinds its teeth and pulls back, trying to free itself from his grip, blood dripping from the mouth onto his face. With a grunt that quickly becomes a bellow of pain, the man pulls his right hand down, bringing the beast's head closer to him and swinging his axe around as he does. The blade of the weapon pierces the stelgar's neck, and it yelps, its mouth popping open as it tries to step backwards off the man. Before the mangled hand can lose its grip, the man pulls and twists as hard as he can, trying to get the beast on the ground, using the stelgar's resistance to pull himself up into a sitting position. He brings the axe down on its neck again, and one final time as its head and his hand simultaneously come free. The head flies from his grip as he thrusts his hand behind his back to brace himself as he falls. As his hand hits the ground and his full weight lands on it, a second bellow of pain erupts from his mouth. Breathing heavily, he brings his now mangled hand up to access the damage. The little finger is gone, lost somewhere in the mud. The two fingers next to it are twisted, broken, and torn, barely attached to his hand by small bits of flesh. He sighs, grabbing both dangling fingers with his left hand. He grits his teeth and pulls. That's terrible. Ugh. I did not care for this, sir. The painting depicts Galifan ruins, and the canvas bears the rough brushstrokes of a talented amateur. Eyebrows Well, 2665. A dwarf and an Orlan debate philosophy on the other side of the curtain.
Well met, friend.
The man behind the bar is nearly the size of an Amora. A handle protrudes from his back, and his face is set in a stoic frown. He gives you a small nod. Here for a drink? There's a tiny pewter cup in front of him. He turns in one broad hand, but doesn't drink from it. Tell me about yourself. Name's Bishop, used to be a scholar of Barath. Now I run the Goose and Fox, and keep the regulars in line. He shifts, and you see a warhammer strapped to his back. What more is there to tell? How'd you go from religion to taverns? The journey isn't as long as you'd think. It started with Hollowborn, and with this. He takes a black bottle from under the bar and fills the pewter cup. It was my sister's son. He takes a drink. At the beginning of Widewind's legacy, he was one of the first. I never expected there would be so many after him. A tragedy is part of the cycle, but it's followed by rebirth. Yet every year more parents are grieving for their Hollowborn children, and the gods were silent. So you lost your faith. He leans forward, crossing his arms on the bar. Barath promises rebirth, cycles, but the only cycle I found was this one. He taps the bar. Have a drink, have another, and another, until I couldn't remember how I got home. Wake up, come back. I finally woke up one day to see my family had packed up and left. For all I know, they'd left days before, and I just hadn't noticed. But they were gone, so I came here. I've cleaned up since then. Now that I've found my answers, he tosses the cup back. I've stopped asking questions. This is a lively place. It was founded in the early days of Direwood independence by a traveling scholar named Errol of Levy. He wanted a place where kith of all backgrounds could gather and hash out the issues facing their new country. He rests his elbows on the polished wood of the bar. It didn't take long for the place to fill up. Blackenbury aristocrats argued with dock workers from the gift, while soldiers wrangled with politicians. Dryerwoodians have never known to turn down an argument. He takes a sip from the tiny cup. I can imagine things got interesting. Soon, kith were coming from farms and settlements too. He waves at the door as if expecting a crowd to bustle in. This place got even more popular with the valiant sailors from the salty mast, and that was the problem. He drains his cup. No matter what people say about fair-mindedness and civil debate, there's only so much people will tolerate. Errol found himself on a wrong side of an argument with the wrong Thayan, and when he disappeared a few days later, some said it was the work of that Thayan. He shrugs, spreading his hands over the bar as he surveys the room. But Errol knew which way the wind was blowing. If you ask me, he skipped town, hid out somewhere, hoping that the rational minds to prevail in Defiance Bay. He cracks a wry grin. If only he could see it now. Let's go upstairs. Oh no. Okay. My throat just is never ready. You see a half-consumed ale slosh its way across the distance to his mouth, spilling across the stains of food long past. Glazed eyes glance at the brawl across the room. Gaining fervor as the fight extends through the room, another ale, he murmurs to the bartender, downing his drink and turning towards the wall. He pulls a picture from his pocket, a painting of a young child, all brown hair and green eyes, and holds it above the candle. It does not burn. Ales later, he begins to sing, the bar a mess of broken chairs and wounded pride, and they all listen for a moment before continuing their drinks, sev, and conversations. His ache is felt through the room. His sad story reminds them of their sad stories. When he finishes singing, a silence hangs in the air, palpable among the smoke and sweat and the yeasty smell of beer-infused exhalation. Exhalation? He is the first to break the silence, ordering a round of ale for the room. The general din of conversation sparks and resumes, but the mirth is now tempered with far-off memories and thoughts.
Well met, friend.
Oh. An Orland man relaxes with his feet propped on the table. Patches of dark brown skin peek out from under a full mane of blue-green hair. He and the Orland woman with him exchange laughs and comments with the trio at a nearby table, and he spins a dagger in hand. His hazel eyes watch you. You look like you've seen a night or two in the wilds. Joining us for a drink? Who are all of you? The name's Two-Tone Wexel. The lady next to me is Key. We've had our fun with the expeditions, but we're hoping to enjoy a little peace and quiet for the next few weeks anyway. A man at the table nods at you. I'm Dreadshot Daedon, and this is Hurdy and Iltha. We were part of a separate expedition teams, but we both suffered losses and decided to band together. He ticks several items off his fingers. Beasts, barbarians, biowalks. It's a dangerous time to be an adventurer, but a prosperous one, too. At the next table, Diane raises his glass. And here's to many more prosperous journeys. Oh, well, I guess that's all we have to say to one another. The Orland woman nods at you, a cup of wine in hand and a scepter across her lap. Elfa nods at you, a pint in one hand and a mace slung over her shoulder. Dedrin is busy filling a spur off of a small round bullet. Or filing a spur off of a small round bullet. A burly Amara raises a hand in greeting. Oh. Scattered amongst the titles as Flora of the Living Lands, Unity in Discernity, A History of the Dreadfire Opapago, and Treatises on the Kulkan People are half a dozen travel journals held together with twine.
Let's see what lies. A simple test. That's settled.
Oh, probably no stealing in here. You see a grin slide across the face of a man and on the face of a woman, younger still than he. She moves closer in the tallow light, sure and slow, tasting the anticipation on his tongue and the desire on hers. The candle gutters sending yellow-brown light sneaking across the multifaceted eyes. She sits back, now all too aware of his luminescent horns and dust-stamped blue skin. His otherness leaves her breathless, but from fascination or horror you cannot tell. He reaches across a hand, trailing a line of her jaw, sibilant whispers sneaking through the air, tempting, cajoling. Something in her breaks, and his grin slides back as he extends his tongue to lick the curve of her throat, pausing a hair's breadth from her flesh. Some of these are saucy. The thing we spoke of, your husband. I shouldn't. He'd be ruined. A faint protest. The man wags his forefinger at her, tisking playfully, tracing a line with the finger down the length of her torso, causing her to writhe. He stops. He stops it just short, and she gasps. No fair. That's cheating, she pouts, childlike. Not if we make the rules. The man winks and resumes his stroke. You see a firm hand scribbling notes from an ancient, surprisingly sturdy-looking tome, script precise pictures, small but clear. The monk runs his fingers across the paper lightly, page after page, searching for something. The script is ancient, almost illegible, but he perseveres, scrawling stacks and sheaves of notes, transcribing the book into something more comprehensible. Suddenly, he starts scribbling hastily, eyes wild, pen a blur across the newly ink-splattered page. With a start, he pushes out from the desk and closes the tome, sending waves of dust to coat about the room, and grins wildly. He hurries to the exit, notes piled under his arms, and a new adventure on his mind. You see a man praying soundlessly on the ground, lips moving to some ancient, unknowable hymn. Lying in his hand, his sword sputters into blinding white light, banishing the darkness around him instantly to lurk in corners and shelves. He opens his eyes slowly, continuing his silent prayer as he adjusts to the new light, his face tight with concentration. He stands and begins to move deliberately towards an enormous iron door, strange symbols inscribed upon its rusted surface. His prayer gets louder, gains substance as he gets closer. Blue eyes burn with fervor as his glowing tip of his sword touches the center of the door and slides through. White light spreads across its surface, symbols flaring to life as the paladin chants. A gentle tone ringing through the ancient structure, and the door begins to open. The symbols have disappeared along with the rust, and the paladin steps through into places unknown, bearing a light he is only now beginning to understand.
A simple test. That's settled.
That's gonna be a theft, and I won't do that in front of people. I will take that, though. The pages of these old books are crisp and fragrant with the salt of a sea breeze. And we went in... No, we didn't go in here. You see a man standing on a dock. Soldiers, sailors, and prostitutes swarm around him, but he's watching the ship disappearing over the horizon. He should be glad that his men didn't take his life along with his ship, but failure is almost as bad as death for a Valian, and the gods only know he hadn't fared any better in his family's mercantile business. It's almost a relief to see the last herald of his failure sail into the distance, sparing him the need to go back to his father and admit defeat once again. Besides, with sharp wits and an eye for opportunity, there's always a chance for a comeback. He pulls the flask from his hip and takes a long drink. There will be time for that later. He adjusts the flap of his eye patch and finds the tower of the brothel. He plots a new course for the evening, a grin on his face. As you near, you see a group of people standing on a clear patch of earth, surrounded by several motionless bodies. On the ground, in the middle of the group, is a small figure, curled up to protect itself from the kicking feet of the people standing around it. This woman is there, apart from the group, holding an enormous sword. She leans on it, using it almost like a crutch, hunched over and breathing heavily. She stares at the people and grunts, pulling herself upright and lifting the sword from the ground. She draws it in a large breath, leans into a run, and quickly closes the distance between herself and the group. A blood-chilling howl suddenly explodes from her. The mob freezes, mid-kick, and stares at the terrifying bull of a woman now charging it. She jumps at the last second, bending slightly, turning herself into a projectile, flying into the middle of people, assaulting the figure on the ground. Everyone topples as she flies into them. She hits the ground beyond them, rolling, leaping, back up, and turns to face them. She plants both of her feet and lifts her sword, surveying the field. Suddenly she spins on her heels, swinging her sword with savage grace, cutting down the nearest of her assailants. Letting herself get pulled into the momentum of the spin, she brings her sword around, blade sideways, into the head of her would-be opponent. The bottom of the hilt shatters his temple, and he crumples to the ground at her feet. She looks up, rage-filled eyes, daring the remaining two men to approach. After a quick sideways glance at each other, they turn heel and run. One briefly looks back over his shoulder, ensuring she isn't following him. She slowly lets out a breath she had been holding and walks over to help the figure still huddled on the ground. Oh, I want to look at that. Old Valia, Southern Coast, 2670. Oh. The Stalger's pelt is thick with dust and moths. The plaque below the beast reads Maiden Falls, 2682. Oh, I wonder if this is the beast that, we read about in that story. I think these are all just merchants. Oh, the Orland woman bounces up and down at your approach. Remember me? We met at Malgar Bridge. She slaps you playfully on the shoulder. Thanks for helping me out back there. As promised, I'll give you the best prices in town. If it weren't for you, I'd still be broke. She's got traps and a grappling hook and camping supplies. Well, I will buy those. And I will buy the grappling hook. Oh, well, I will not be buying these then. Thank you.
Hail, traveler.
Ingrun stands behind a stall, polishing a broadsword. The patterned flesh around his eyes is crinkled with age, and the muscles in his arms are knotty and lean, but he holds the weapon with ease. He nods at you. Come to take a look? You won't find a finer collection of armor and weaponry in Defiance Bay, outside Solnlid's, of course. He flashes a crooked grin. What is so special about Solnlid? She operates the expedition hall. He jerks a thumb over his shoulder. Sells the best equipment in the city, but Wenin keeps her on a short lease. Keeps her fine inventory reserved for chartered expeditionists, members of the dozen, and anyone else he takes a liking to. $10,000. Is that better than your shitty staff? It's not. Wait, what? Oh, but it's fast. Let's see. That is one thing I didn't actually end up doing. And that's seeing how to equip these guys. I will look into that next week. You see a dimly lit room with extravagant decoration. Pillows of silk brocade cover the floor, surrounding a large velvet-covered divan. A man sits on the divan, his shirt untucked and only halfway buttoned. Behind him stands this elf, dressed in the same lavish finery as decorates the room. Her hips gyrate gently, dancing slowly around the man as she begins to sing. He looks up at her blearily, intoxication clouding his vision. He smiles, tunelessly humming along with her. Her words are too low to hear clearly, but as her singing grows more intense, the lights in the room seem to dim even farther, and everything else loses focus. She takes his face in her hands, singing directly to him, running her hands down his shoulders and arms until she is holding his hands. The man's eyes grow heavy, and he quickly succumbs to sleep, slumping backwards. She holds his arms, catching him as he falls, and gently lays him down across the divan. She stops singing when his head hits the pillow, and suddenly the lights brighten back up, and everything snaps back into focus. She slips her hand into his jacket, retrieving an item that she places in a small box on a nearby table. She looks back at the man, shakes her head, and escapes into the night. You see a man stumble, knees bleeding, clothes torn, eyes dead. His skin is damp with sweat, and he pushes onward. His back is arched, defeated. At his side hangs a bow, strings limp from disuse. He trips through the undergrowth, sightless, ignoring all but the sound of his own anguish. He comes across a deer, guts spilled across the forest floor, still streaming in the cold night air. A Stelgar watches him from above, perched on the trunk of an enormous fallen tree. It takes the man a moment to notice his danger, and he is almost glad for it. The Stelgar unravels itself from the tree, eyeing him carefully. Its distended stomach only almost brushes the ground as it jumps down, and the man dives to meet it. For a moment, time seems to slow as the man and beast collide. The Stelgar roars, sweeping at him with its claws, and soon has him pinned, great yellow teeth and acrid breath ready to end his intrusion. But with a wet, ripping sound, instead, the agonized Stelgar is himself gutted from the neck to rump. The man exhales deeply, covered in blood, ponderous. Not today. Not today. Let's see. Ooh, can I take? I can and I shall. The shields have been battered and scarred in long ago battles. Admith's Den.
This looks like the kind of place we could find allies. For a prize.
For a prize. Oh. I have been forcefully put into a cutscene. A well-groomed man steps through the hall with a confident swagger, a smug grin etched on his face. He is flanked by 5 other hard-looking individuals. One of his companions eyes you for a moment before spitting chew at your feet. Another pup come wandering in, I see. Just know that Bine's giant slayers run things around here and you'll be fine. Never heard of them. His eyes narrow. You have now. Stick around Defiance Bay and you will again. Plenty of bounties to go around, but there's a reason that the giant slayers get the lion's share. Remember that. A voice bellows across the hall. Enough jabber, Bine. You gonna do the job or talk about it? His jaw tightens. Wenren's right. That coin ain't going to collect itself. He looks at his comrades and jerks his chin towards the door. See you around, pup. I want to kick this man's ass.
Don't stand on ceremony. State your business.
Oh, the rough-looking man glances at you briefly as he scans the mercenaries milling around the room. Tell me about the dozens. Wenren's expression becomes serious, the timbre of his voice deepening. Good men and women trying to walk in the footsteps of great men and women who came before us. We're a loose association of warriors and expeditionists in the Dryerwood. Not as fancy as the Crucible Knights, mind you, but at least we remember our roots. At least they remember someone else's roots and pretend to be like 'em, he means. Your roots? The Crucible Knights take pride in having won the Dryerwood's freedom 150 years ago, but we're the ones who protected it. Everyone knows that the Saints' War ended when the Godhammer destroyed Waidwen at Evandour Bridge. A lot of folks don't know how Waidwen wound up on that bridge. 7 men, 5 women. They walked out of Howlgate Citadel and faced down a god, held him there until the bomb went off. He thumps the table. That's the legacy we defend. Some call us mercenaries, but we don't need matching armor and silly cloaks to remember our roles. We're the same now as we were then. We stand up for the people. First line of defense, whatever it takes. We've got new enemies now. If it's not Waidwen and his damn legacy, it's the damn soul butchers in Brackenbury, making everything worse on all of us. Probably causing the whole thing one way or another. Well, we haven't gone anywhere, and there's a lot more than 12 of us now. We defend Dryerwood once, and we'll do it again. Waywin casually nods your way. His eyes continue to float from mercenary to mercenary as he speaks. What else do you need? I am looking for work.
Go see Osric. He's usually got something. You do well for him, maybe I can find you more.
Alright, I will go talk to that man.
Oh.
Then. Okay, let's go. Pretty sure. Yeah, let's just go around. Oh, I could just do so much theft, and then I would have to fight all these idiots. Okay. Oh boy. You see the Orlin cautiously making his way down a dark stone corridor. His eyes are wide, and he is constantly looking over his shoulder, every noise making him jump. He appears dressed for adventuring, but his armor is ill-fitting, and his pack refuses to stay on his back. Another sound reaches his ears from behind him, and he spins around, peering into the darkness, trying to discern the source of the noise. He stands there for several seconds, holding his breath and staring. When nothing happens, he lets out a relieved sigh, and turns to continue walking. His pack slips from his shoulder, and cooking implements tumble out, sending a clattering din down the quiet hall. He freezes, listening in the tome, silent aftermath of the incident. Booming footsteps reach his ears. From behind him, he lets out a squeal and runs away from the approaching creature, clattering through his spilled gear. His footsteps speed up, and the Orlin squeals again, hurrying down the hall. There is a guttural growl close behind him, and he turns to see an ogre emerge from the darkness behind him. The squeal becomes a yell, and he puts his head down and breaks into a run. The ogre steps on the spilled gear and lets out a bellow of pain, breaking stride and looking down at its foot as it continues to hop forward, panicked. Panicked, the Orlin hits a trapwire pulled across the corridor without even noticing it there. It knocks his feet out from under him, and he tumbles onto the floor, rolling a bit before ending up on his back. He lifts his head slightly and looks down the hall. The ogre has regained its stride and is running at him, hand out, intent on grabbing him. Both Orlin and ogre are unaware of the battle axe swinging a deadly arc through the air, accidentally tripped by the Orlin. The axe buries itself in the ogre's face, stopping it in its tracks. Hands extended, blood making a trail on its face and dripping onto the floor. The Orlin stares wide-eyed as the ogre goes limp, its weight slowly pulling it off the axe with a wet, slunking sound. It comes loose and falls, eliciting a final squeal from the Orlin, who scoots backwards to avoid getting squashed by the falling ogre's head. After a few moments of processing what just happened, the Orlin quickly scrambles over the ogre's body, runs down the hall, and towards the exit. You see 3 human boys walking through a city street, pushing at each other and joking with one another. They stop, one of them pointing down the road, and look at each other. The Orlin, though younger and smaller, is the target of their attention. She has a handful of coins, and she passes from hand to hand and is moving towards the marketplace. The boys move quickly, working their way around her as through the crowd until they form a line in front of her, herding her into a shadowy corner away from the main thoroughfare. The boys taunt her, accusing her of stealing the coins, talking over her protests of innocence. They threaten her, telling her they will turn her over to the city and city watch for thievery if she doesn't give them the coins, because they can help at least 3 unfortunates with the money. One of the boys reaches for the coins, but she pulls her hand back. He cuffs the side of her head and grabs her hand, forcing it open, letting the coins drop into his palm. The boys laugh, thanking her for her service, and disappear into the crowd. The Orlin looks around, tears welling in her eyes. She spies a member of the watch and runs over, telling him that she was just robbed. The guard is unmoved, informing her that if he helps, she's just going to let it happen again next time. She protests, telling him that it is his job to help, but the guard is unmoved and unmoving. She stares at him for quite some time, fury burning behind her small eyes. Without saying another word, she turns and storms off, her face set with resolution. The outer bands of this target are pocketed with countless holes. The edges of these swords have been blunted for practice.
For the last time, Aidwig, keep your fucking blade up. If that dummy was armed, it'd have your head off.
Language. This man watches the training adventures with the disinterested contempt of someone whose skills are wasted in this setting. I am looking for work.
On an expedition, talk to Wenham. I just handle these mercenary shit shovelers. Adventurers, I mean.
Wenwen clears his throat in the background. And Orsik's mouth puckers. Although, he sizes you up, I do have something I need done. Something that requires... He glances sidelong at an adventurer flailing away helplessly at a dummy. Competence. What do you need done?
I was formerly one of the Knights of the Crucible. When I left, they kept my arms and armor. The arms they can have, but the armor belonged to my family. I'd like it back.
Why don't you just ask for it back?
No. Well, they'd like that, I'm sure. But I won't be going. Sooner be torn apart by dogs than give them the satisfaction.
Doesn't sound like leaving the Crucible Knights was your choice.
You don't choose to leave knighthood. The Crucible Knights, they may not be a real knighthood, but the oaths you swear are just as true. Still, turns out that even unofficial knighthoods have politics. You cross the wrong man, suddenly all kinds of accusations are thrown your way, and nobody believes you.
Nothing more destructive than a crowd with the wrong idea. Where's this armor?
It's a breastplate. Not much to look at, and it's seen far too much use, but it's been in my family since the liberation.
I'll see what I can
Then it's
do.
Penhelm you're looking for. A low snake of a man. If he was to die choking on his own black tongue, it'd be too kind of fate. He kept it when he had me kicked out.
He leans in closer. I got word from a reliable source that Penhelm visited a forager in Orange's Gift, right after having his soul lineage read by a cipher in Dunred Row. Should you have it in your heart to find a way to ruin his life while you're there, well, drinks on me. Having his soul lineage read?
It's a requirement to join the Knights. They have to ensure a novitiate doesn't have a subversive lineage. If Penhelm's superiors found out his affidavit was a fake, his career would be over. Every novitiate gets an affidavit from Dunred Row, and those are stored at Crucible Keep. If you find Penhelm's, one of those ciphers could tell you if it's real.
How fucked up is that? That to get a job, you have to have someone look back in your family tree and make sure that people weren't shitheads. And if there was someone in your past, like your great-great-great-grandfather was a huge raging dick, you just can't get a job. That is the most fucked up thing in the world. Or like, it even sounds like subversive. So that means like, well, a long time ago, your family was too poor. So that means you can't have a job. It's just so baffling. That's so dumb. Sagani scratches the back of her neck. If generations of Mossok traditions are any indication, this Penhelm probably doesn't remember it. Still, a past like that has to count for something. Tell me about the expedition hall. It's treasure hunting, plain and simple. Sponsors put up money, hire adventurers to explore the wilds, looking for ruins mostly. If they come back alive, they split the spoils. If not, it's because they handle their weapons like this lot in front of me, who might as well be digging their own graves right now. Alright.
Welcome.
The woman looks up from polishing a dagger. Haven't seen you before. You heading out with an expedition company? She raises an eyebrow. Or are you betting on one? Can I buy something? I'm afraid not. See, the dozens only do business with me so long as I only do business with them. And they are good customers. She jerks her thumb at the door. But if you get Orsik's good side, he can make an exception for you. He's probably training some of the new recruits right now. How long have you worked in Admeth's den? She leans on the countertop and drums her fingers. Oh, a few years. I got in the minute the last merchant cleared out. She nods towards the main area of the hall. They've got new expeditions venturing out every week, so this is a great place to do business. And the dozens make loyal friends and loyal customers, so long as you stick by them. She taps the counter. The vendor, who was here before me, they ran him out when he sold his best helms to a pair of Crucible Knights. I've been careful not to make the same mistake. Tell me about the expeditions. They're groups of adventurers that venture into the wilderness. More than a few of them try their luck at scouring the ruins, and most of them come back empty-handed if they come back at all. Betting on them is almost as risky as actually going, but that's how the expeditions get funded, and every once in a while, one of the adventuring companies will strike it big and make a fortune for their backs. Oh, is there things for me to take?
That's settled.
Ooh, I better be careful.
I shall be quiet
Wait.
as a calm sea.
Hold on, I'm gonna even
Which
be
is
more careful.
Not very quiet.
I'm gonna save. Now we steal. Hell yes, I want this bow. Ho 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 ho.
I can do that. That's settled.
Most excellent. Well, I already had one of those. So, that is what it is. Alright, let's get out of here. Let's see. 12. Let's look at the... Let's look at the rest of the marketplace, because I think there was one other guy I didn't talk to. But I know there's stuff over here. Yeah, I had a guess that this man had a story. You see a small band of people walking down a rutted road, surrounded by a thick forest. The man walks alongside them, chanting and joking like they were lifelong friends. Though his appearance is one of frivolity, his jovial facade is betrayed by the occasional sideways glance into the dense tree line. There is noise from the trees around them and sounds of someone breaking a twig. The man holds up his hand, silencing the travels and destroying the light-hearted tone of the evening. They look around, worried expressions on their faces gathering closer together. The man motions the group to stay where they are, and heads into the trees. There is silence for several seconds as they all strain to hear anything, clutching one another nervously. There's another rustling, this time coming from the direction the man entered the woods. A single figure emerges from the tree line, and the group visibly relaxes, seeing him approach. The figure comes close enough for the group to see his face, and one of them lets out a cry of dismay when they realize that this is not their friend. No sooner has the sound left his mouth than another group emerges from the woods, weapons drawn, surrounding the travelers. As none of them are armed or in any state to fight, they are quickly subdued, bound, and relieved of their valuables. With a laugh, the bandits disappear back into the woods, leaving their quarry on the road. Safely back inside the Black Forest, they meet up with the man. He smiles, mocking the gullibility of people who will trust a complete stranger as long as he buys them a drink. He takes his share of the spoils and leaves. Man.
Good day to you.
The merchant smiles brightly. Well met, traveler. Are you interested in purchasing any rations for your journey? Dragon eggs? Dragon meat?
Hail, traveler.
The young woman stands by a cart, watching the crowd with large, bright eyes that focus on you as you approach. Take your time, traveler. I'm looking for enchanted scrolls or garb. You've come to the right place. Ooh, this is also expensive. What does this actually go into? Damn, I got grappling hook for days now. What is going on in here? Uh-oh. Wait, what did I even do?
Brave thou Philo-
I wasn't trying to steal, I just wanted to look. And then everybody got on my case. Oh my god. I'm gonna let this play out however it's gonna play out and we can restart because I don't actually want things to go down this way. Oh my god, I think we might win. No, maybe not. Olaf wants to kill. I did not want things to happen this way. And we won. Well. Hold on. Stop. There we go. I was just trying to look at the table. Alright.
Certainly.
Let's not touch anything this time, guys. A couple of crude beds have been improvised from the assortment of tattered blankets and pillows. Dribbles of some dark liquid stain the fabric. Top floor is off limits. The man before you flashes a toothy and rather unpleasant grin. Well now, a new face. Welcome, friend. Name's Persnick, and this, he gestured to the room around you, is my humble abode and place of business. And I do hope you're here to do some business. He glances at the nearby guard. Seems like a lot of guards for one man. You must be popular. Persnick raises a brow. Sure, right. Very perceptive. The business attracts some less pleasant types. Sometimes the clientele gets a little pushy, and every so often someone even turns out to be snooping into things they shouldn't, and lessons have to be taught. His face shivers with a quick, unreadable emotion. I'm sure you're too smart to get wrapped up in all that, of course. I keep it simple. If you have the coin, I have the svev. You're free to make use of the premises so long as you don't do anything stupid and you don't get to tangling with the other customers. Now, Persnick slaps his hands together. What can I get you? Canara asked me to give you this. Persnick takes the ring and turns it around in his fingers. Nice. What's this for? You don't recognize the wedding band you gave Karina? Persnick laughs. Oh, yeah, I see now. She's making a statement, is she? Good riddance to her, then. Sorry I ever spent the coin to begin with. What? Now, is that all? Seems a difficult thing to forget, giving your grandmother's ring to somebody. Maybe she's just not worth remembering, eh? Persnick snorts. While you're playing lapdog for her and all, why don't you go back and tell her to keep clear of here? She seemed to care for you. Why are you doing this? Plenty of stars in the sky. Tell her to go set up in the salty mast if she's feeling lonely. Persnick shrugs. Me and her are done. What is... How dare you hit your own fiancé? How can you live with yourself? She was asking for it, Persnick growls. Sort of like you, right now. Maybe you ought to quit digging around in affairs that don't concern you. Me? I've got business to get back to. He points towards that way. Something's not right here, and I don't plan on leaving until I find out what's going on. Persnick's eyes narrow. Then you won't be leaving at all, friend. I'm tired of wearing this face anyhow. He raises his voice. Guards, to me! Well. We do seem to have ended up fighting anyway. Alright. Bear, I need you to stop this wizard from hitting my, bard. I also need you to get this man off. You can back up over here. Oh, Alice, you're probably in trouble. I'm gonna give that a second. Yep. I need you to go back and stop all of this from happening. Oh, frick. Oh, get up. He's down. That sucks. Okay, am I doing anything? Stop the whispering. It's all rather unfortunate.
Yes?
Careful, they're fitting our number.
Stop! Nagrid staggers back, holding a bloody hand in front of him. I give up. Just leave, and I'll go peacefully, alright? Too late.
Yes.
Ella. Where are you? That's fine. Oh, Ella.
Hey,
Damn it! We gotta take better care of Ella.
Yeah? Do you think so?
I could go for some shut-eye about now.
Following your lead.
Can you summon more zombies?
Vodaka!
Oh.
Yes.
Well, that could have gone better. I need to set myself up better in that room. But I can do that. Excuse me, sirs. Okay, so this is how I'm gonna do it. I'm going to...
Hey,
Oh, we have things to talk about,
the
apparently?
dozens. Pretty sure you won't find one among them who stood within 100 miles of that bridge when the Godhammer went off. Too bad, too. Then there'd be less of them.
Why do they call themselves the Dozens? Was 12 Direwoods stood outside the Halgot Citadel waiting for Wadewind to cross the bridge there. They had to hold him there long enough for the Godhammer to detonate, so that's what they did. Godhammer? That's what they call the bomb they blew up. Wadewind. They blew up Wadewind with. Don't know much about it other than that. Anything kills a living god, guess you gotta name it. What do you have against the Dozens? Nothing serious. Nothing I don't have against a lot of folks, anyway. The Dozens, they like to take things into their own hands. Gets ugly sometimes. We don't have them in Gilded Vale, but they'd be right home there. They picked up that name so that they could do what they wanted and feel like it was right. Got nothing to do with honor or sacrifice. They like to invoke Margaret, too, when they especially want to feel right. Somehow I don't think she'd be too impressed with the lot. I'm sure she'd like to set him on fire anytime they use her name, but the gods probably got rules against that kind of thing. Surely Margaret has worthier followers. She draws all types, seems to me. More than she'd like, I'm sure. Warmongers, fire lovers. His eyes fixed briefly to Durrance. But she does do better than that. Plenty of good soldiers send their prayers to her when we were marching towards the front lines. Have to expect that those types are the types she'd prefer to talk to. Good idea. Alright. Let's set ourselves up a little bit better. You're gonna go right here. We're gonna go right here. And
Hey.
you're gonna go here.
Ready, Watcher. Right.
And then the rest
Ready,
of us
Watcher.
should be good here.
Hey. All right then.
Oh, my bear ran away. God damn. No, 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 no. Okay. Well, alright. Fine. Okay. We'll deal with this as best we can. Is that Aloth? God damn it, Aloth. I need you to be over here. There we go. Okay. Well, that's not ideal, Aloth. Yeah, Bear was like, oh, nope. Okay, Bear, you've got to protect people. Okay, good. And now I got him on everybody. I gotta get rid of Nyrad. You cast your protection spell. And then we actually have to take care of this guy. You also need to stop things from happening. Okay. Okay. Good, good, good. Okay. Aloth! Just stand there.
Yes.
Alright, fine. Oh, he's fucking dead. Oh my god. Ugh. I think he's just out of range. Please, 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 please make it. Okay, good. God, you need to do something. Can you summon zombies? Most excellent. Hang in there, hang in there. Okay. I need to start killing. Kill. Barely injured. Okay, what are you doing right now? Good stuff. I need you to do that again. Okay. Keep doing it. Good stuff. I need you to keep on keeping on. Okay, how are we doing over here? And can we kill this man yet? And why aren't we killing him faster? Is my bear still alive? Yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, you're doing this. Okay. Okay, okay. Aloth, put on a shield. Actually, don't think this will hurt, friends.
I'll give.
Oh, he's down. Okay. But we should be okay. Your death. Badly injured. Badly injured. Barely injured. Okay. Can we summon more zombies? That's what I'd like to hear.
We got
Oh, someone's just throwing a fireball down there. Oh no! He's down, but you're alright. Okay.
Hey,
My bear's on fire. Alright, we seem to be doing okay. I'm gonna have you hang out while my bear is dealing with these things. Fire.
hey.
Too late. Oh, there we go. If my bear had just stayed at the door. Uh-oh. Well, that worked out.
Certainly.
Thank you. The Book of Valiant Love's Sonnets has a dictation on the first page. To my beloved Karina. Aww. Well, now that I am no longer going to be assaulted for crimes, I am absolutely going to rob this house blind.
A simple test. That's settled.
Someone has peeled the labels from these bottles. They're stuffed with a dark, grungy pulp that gives off a pungent odor. The pots are crusted shut with some unidentifiable gunk. Well, I hope there's no one upstairs we have to fight because my tank's about to die.
You must gather your party before venturing forth.
Come on. Bear, I'm gonna have you scout. Good call. Okay, everybody. Need you to release me. Please, oh, please stop killing my mans.
You.
Curses.
You're gonna be alright, though.
Settle! Oh.
Yes?
Okay. A deer can't die again. Or he will be dead forever. I'm pretty sure that's how that works.
What?
I know. It's messed up. It appears as though someone rummaged through this uneven row of books in a hurry. These jars are chipped and cracked as if knocked to the ground and set back in place. We'll take that. There are definitely more people in this room, though. Like, that room has people in it. Guaranteed. A deer, or not a deer.
Hey,
What's your name? Yeah, your name is a deer. Can you drink a potion for me? I'm pretty sure I just can't camp in this house.
hey.
Yes, I see you. Can you just drink a little potion for me? First of all, some of you are hoarding. I don't care for that. It's a good stick. Yep. Look at all these clothings. What you got, chicken? Fair endurance. Why can't I put this in here? There we go. Alright, what do we got? Well, that increases max health. No. Seems like that's gonna be a no.
Hmm?
Yeah. So this is what you're gonna do. Your job? Your job is to hang out right here. Don't even look at what's going on.
Yes.
Okay. Alright, big bad bear. Unlock the door, bear. Alright,
Yes.
I guess I'm unlocking the door. Alright, bear. Yeah. Damn it.
Yes.
Go to your paws. Now my bear's in the way. There we go. Oh. Oh, it's fine. I was worrying for nothing. On one side of the overturned vase is splotched. One side of the overturned vase is splotched with crimson. Someone has gathered sheets and towels into a makeshift bed. The rumpled fabric is stiff with blood and unwashed sweat. A man lies bound and bloodied on the floor before you. His face is a tapestry of bruises, and blood is splattered across several corners of the room. The man cringes and sobs as you approach. Gods, please, please, no more. I can't take any more. I'm not here to hurt you. The man pauses, gazing up at you. You're not? Oh, praise Pyres, you're not the one of his men, are you? He glances nervously behind you. He shakes his head. Please, I don't know who you are, but my name is Persnick. This is my house. You have to help me. Then who was that downstairs? An imposter! Some wizard named Nerid. He came into my house, tied me up, and tortured me, and now he and his men are eating my food and breaking my things, selling sviv inside my own house. He blinks. This would be a lot easier if you weren't trying to hide something. Persnick looks away, unable to meet your gaze. I may have hung on to a tiny portion of my supplier's share, but I needed the money. So you're a Svev dealer? Persnick winces. Look, I know it's not the best line of work, especially with all that has happened, but it pays well. Very, very well. And, well, people want the stuff, don't they? But was it worth all this? Losing Karina? Persnick grins. I have to. I'm sorry, I don't have any other trade. Nothing that's going to support us. Someday I'll get out of the business when we don't need it anymore. What did your supplier do? He sent over this wizard, Nyrid, the man downstairs. Persnick shudders. To make up the lost copper, I guess, and to hurt me while he was at it. It feels like it's been days. He's already been taken care of. Persnick stares at you. I can't believe this nightmare is finally over. He grins weakly, then seems to remember something. You've no idea what you've done for me, but... He looks up to you and away again. I need to find my love, Karina. Only after... Whatever Nyrid put her through, I'm afraid she won't give me the chance to explain. But she might listen to you. Please, she must be somewhere in Copper Lane. It's the only home she's known. And please don't tell her about the Svev and what I do. I could make it worth your while. A discount, maybe? I'll tell her whatever I please, and you still give me that discount. Karina sent me here in the first place. She did. Persnick smiles brightly. That woman helped save my life without realizing it. Please bring her home and tell her that everything is back to normal. He's still gonna be selling, like, he's still intent on selling the drugs, and that's not what she's about, but I'll go talk to her. I can't thank you enough, truly. How I've missed my poor Karina. Alright, everybody.
Yes.
I need to get my poor boy healed up. But we're going to the tavern anyway, so that all works out. Whoa. I most certainly saw something. It's like a little purple flash. Yeah, that's exactly what this is.
You're from Gilded Vale? Then you're close to home.
Close can mean a lot of things.
Surely you'll go back when this is all over.
Dunno. Guess that all depends.
Well met, friend.
God, what's that thing that Walter White says? I am the danger. I need a room. Give me everything. Oh, I forgot to do actually what I came there to do. It's not all about me and my characters. Well, I went on an adventure. Karina looks up at you as you approach. What happened with Persnick? Did you give him the ring? Well, I'm not gonna lie. Persnick was being impersonated by a powerful wizard. However, the real Persnick also deals Svev. She covers her mouth with her hand, shocked. Persnick? My Persnick is a Svev dealer? If I didn't know you for an honest woman. To be fair, you don't really know me at all, but that's neither here nor there. She brings her fist down on the table, sloshing her drink. Damn it! How can I trust him after something like this? That he's lied to me for this long? She runs her hands through her hair and takes a deep breath. I should just be glad that I found out about this before the wedding. Well, now I don't know what to do. Needs help and forgiveness. But he does deal Fantasyland equivalent of meth. And he does not want to stop selling the meth. And I did watch all seasons of Breaking Bad, so I know how that kind of ends up. Because it's not an addiction problem. He's not doing this stuff. He just really wants money. So I don't really think he needs... I don't think you... I don't know. I don't... You're smart to stay away from him. She nods. You're right. I think that was what I needed to realize. I think this is what I needed to realize it. Thank you. Oh, and take this. She unclasped something from her neck. Picked it up from one of the merchants to help me stand firm in my decision. I'll be fine without it now. I leveled up.
Oh?
Yes. Oh. Oh, we leveled up. I have not even explored half of this.
You must gather your party before...
They are gathered and they are walking. Don't tell me what to do, narrator man. I have explored like half of this city. Oh, but there doesn't look to be too much else here to do. Let's go look at the catacombs. I'm glad that... Oh boy. A young boy watches the passerby and counts a grimy handful of coins. His face and arms are smudged with dirt, but except for the grass stains, his clothes are in good condition. As you approach, he blinks and makes a quick, furtive effort to pocket his coins. The boy stares at you, his mouth hanging open. I know, I really like it, though. After several seconds frozen in silence, he squints and mumbles, "What's that on your head?" He snaps out of his trance and continues to watch you with fascination. Hey, miss, you want to know a secret? He wipes his nose with a sleeve. I know a real good secret. Looks like we got a little hustler here. Someone raised this kid right. Really? What is it? His name is Gordy. Such a good name for a small, grungy child. He shrugs and clasps his hands behind his back, kicking a loose pebble. I just saw folks hiding some really neat things. I could show you where, but Mom and Dad told me not to talk to strangers. His eyes slowly roll up at you. But maybe you could help me with something. Then we wouldn't be strangers. This kid's about to grift me. He's about to grift me hard. Help you with what? Gordy's voice suddenly rises in pitch and tempo. The Crucible Knights have these daggers made out of March steel. It's the best steel around, except for Dungan steel, which doesn't count because no one makes it anymore. He stops long enough to catch his breath. Anyway, there's this merchant over by Expedition Hall, and he has a dagger made of real March steel. His eyes grow large and round. He said he wouldn't sell it to me because I'm a kid, and kids don't know anything about daggers. But that's not true. I know a lot about daggers. I know about the different kinds of steel. I know how the Crucible Knights make them in a forge, and I know the tip can pierce low-gauge steel armor. That one's good enough and sharp enough that it can cut through bone. See, I know plenty about daggers and killing. And I really, really want this one. And if you could just get it for me, I promise I'll never ask anyone for anything ever again. That... You asking people for things benefits me in a zero. In Mossack, we begin training our daughters with the hunting knife as soon as they can talk. Many can field dress a hare before their 10th birthday. She frowns. I wouldn't trust this kid with a butter knife. I am not getting this child a knife. There are some violent options. Grift the child before he can grift you. You're too young to play with knives, and I'm sure your parents told you that or you wouldn't be asking me. But if I'm going to be a real warrior, I have to start training young, just like the heroes in the stories. I know I was a great warrior in a previous life. My mom says I have an old soul. I apparently am going to help this child. Cordy jumps up and down, whooping and hollering. I knew a real adventurer would understand. He points to a large building. There's a big merchant over at Ammon's Den who sells weapons. He's the one with the dagger. I'll wait for you right here. His gap-toothed grin stretches from ear to ear.
Yes.
I told this kid no. He told me some bullshit, and I was like, yeah, you know what?
Certainly.
I will get you a knife. What are you, 7? It's fine. Oh, I can just go in here. I don't think I want to be in here. We will deal with this another day. Ah. That sounds it sounds very exciting. As you near, you feel a vibrant history contained in the essence of this man's soul. You see an older dwarf counting coins behind a grimy shop window, hair limp with grease and sweat, a sneer playing around the edges of his pinched mouth. The bargains of the day lie scattered across the table, from tarnished, tawdry jewelry to an acid-encrusted dagger lying precariously near the edge. His half-nose twitches in anticipation as a customer enters, a devilish young noble, once white doublet stained with a life gone wrong. Eyes dart behind him, searching for pursuit before he dumps the contents of his Hessian bag on the table. The dwarf leans forward, fingers flicking through the silverware and assorted goblets. He shakes his head apathetically, sneer finally settled, shoving the items back at the man. The man pleads, begs, eyes rolling panicked in their sockets, asking for something, anything, a few silvers. The dwarf leers and tosses 3 copper pans on the table. Desperate, the young noble tears a signet ring from his finger. To the dwarf's ill-concealed delight, a few more coins go into the pile, and the defeated man, swearing stitches under his breath, exits the shop. The venerable dwarf grins at his good fortune, picking food out of his 2 sharp teeth as he examines his haul. First fires. Yeah, we might as well do that. I don't know how far I can get in first fires within 15 minutes. It depends on how many people's souls I peer into, I suppose. Oh boy. When will the legacy end? Those are good questions.
Politics, infighting, greed, and a shrine to Margaret as well. Her clergy belongs there.
These people have stories. You see a small mobile stall covered with various goods and sundries. This woman is standing next to it, engaged in a lively discussion with a man who is holding one of the items she is selling. She has a light, friendly countenance and is trying to explain to the man how to control the item. He moves his hands around the top of it and mutters what sounds to be gibberish. After several attempts, he growls and thrusts the item back at her and starts to turn away. She stops him with a hand on his shoulder and holds the item up in front of his face. She traces a finger over the top of it, slowly and distinctly, repeating the same phrase over and over. The object suddenly lights up, shining as brightly as a torch. The man's face brightens as well, and he looks at her expectantly. She runs 2 fingers down the side of the object, and the light extinguishes. She hands it back to him and takes her place behind, guiding his hands as she whispers the words to say in his ear. Many failed attempts later, the man is able to light the object on every try. Elated, he hands it back to her as she makes her way behind the cart. While he searches for the appropriate coin, she places an item on the shelf under the backside of the cart and replaces it with another from a small box next to it. Money and good are exchanged, and she watches the man leave, satisfied with the purchase. Then she scans the crowd, looking for her next mark. Everybody's so shitty. You see a man preaching, his voice watching over a small crowd of eager acolytes. He speaks of tolerance, of self-reliance, of pain, and of beauty. The crowd nods, agreement clear in their transparent faces, and the preacher frowns. He continues speaking of the importance of anger, the strength of hatred and frustration. His frown deepens as they nod, enraptured. He calls forth one of their number, an older man. It is safe, the preacher says. No harm will come to him. Smiling, the man walks forward into the preacher's embrace. A shudder rocks his frame as he pushes away, a thin stiletto through his chest. He falls to the ground, and he does not breathe long. The crowd groans, confused. The preacher's face is dark with rage. Do not trust blindly, he says. Do not take the world at its face. Terrible things lie beneath, and you must be prepared before you see the truth. The crowd thins, the body removed, the preacher silent. A few remain to listen, and to them he smiles. Just kill it. It's fine. There's all sorts of wild people here. I'm just gonna enter. Thank you. woman wears a simple but well-tailored uniform. She watches the comings and goings around her with quiet attention. Any news to share, or are you just here to see the Ducal Palace? What's the Ducal Palace? It's the seat of government here in Defiance Bay. This is where Duke Admeth Hedret declared freedom from the Danian rule some 150 years ago. She lowers her voice and grins. It's also a hotbed of regional politics. Trust me, the gossip here beats what you'll find in any tavern or brothel in the city. Ah, Direwood politics. It changes too quickly to be worth keeping up with. Better to strike up conversation in the taverns than try and loiter inconspicuously at the palace corridors. And who are you? I'm a page here at the palace. I deliver messages and run errands for the Duke and his advisors. The pay's not great, but I can't think of a better introduction to politics. And what goes on here? She laughs. Where to start? We've got meetings, public hearings, and ceremonies, and that's just the stuff that happens out in the open. She leans in a little closer. This is where the Duke and his key advisors work, so there's always someone bartering for a favor. Unfortunately, I'm not at liberty to talk about about that side of things. But if you want the official version, she clears her throat and gestures counterclockwise around the palace. We have a shrine devoted to Magrin, official records and chambers for public hearings and council meetings. Tell me about the Shrine of Magrin. It's a symbol of Magrin's protection of Defiance Bay. She's represented the revolutionary spirit of the Direwood ever since independence, and her involvement in creating the Godhammer bomb only affirmed her importance to us. She scratches her neck. That's also where the first of the sacred fires burn, but Figra, the tranquil ardent, has had trouble keeping them lit. What kind of records are stored here? Mostly dull official stuff, census counts, tax records, militia registers. Now I keep my distance. I got curious one day and got drafted into shelving half of the records. She yawns. That was the worst day of my life. Is there a hearing going on right now? Sure is. Duke Evar has been meeting with some of the city leaders for weeks now, trying to figure out how to dress the legacy. The whole business is terribly secret, though I tried to sit in the gallery during my lunch break one day and got turned away. She sniffs, but a lot of the talk concerns animancy, so there's good reason they're keeping the meetings behind closed doors. The legacy? Waidwin's legacy. That's what a lot of people call the rash of Hollowborn. The theory goes that it's punishment for meddling in animancy. Why is animancy so controversial? She laughs. Where to begin? Traditionalists think it's a crime against the gods. There's no question that poking around in souls is risky, but the more progressive elements believe it's our only shot at restoring healthy births. And it doesn't help matters that animancy research often involves old Ingwithian relics that were illegally looted from the ruins in Ergalaf. She makes a quick twitching motion with her index and middle fingers. What are Hollowborn? She raises an eyebrow. You really are fresh from the road. Hollowborn are children born without souls. They often don't live for very long, and those that do generally have received some kind of treatment from the animancers. So what do you think about animancy? Me? I think the real danger of animancy is confusing a real scholar with an expensive fake. We get a new case here every day. Some poor couple in the gift of Copper Lane who spent every copper they had on a miracle cure for their unborn child, and it never works. She shakes her head. Breaks your heart, but there's usually nothing we can do for them. Tell me about the current Duke. That would be a Werewolf Grin. Don't let the title fool you, though. Our dukes have been elected since independence. Some find Duke Avir rather coarse. He's a frontier noble. Personally, I think a rough and tumble type is just what Defiance Bay needs. Anyway, I need to look at this woman. A stone figure of a warrior gazes toward her raised hand. It's empty, but the palm and fingers are blackened.
Hail, traveler.
The woman's head is bowed and her lips move in prayer. Just as you approach, you catch her glimpsing at the statue near her. She notices you and forces a smile. Praise be to Margaret and welcome to her temple. How may I be of service? You seem upset. What's wrong? Her shoulders slump. This is about the fires, isn't it? She puts a hand on your shoulder. They're just symbols. You can't put your faith in them. The fires? She sighs. The sacred pyres all around town. You must have seen the statues of the goddess around the city, holding up empty braziers. I've kept them burning steadily for 15 years, but I haven't been able to conjure them for months now, and people need to see them more than ever these days. So light them again. I see plenty of flames here. They don't work that way. They're holy fires. It's my devotions and prayers that keep them lit, but lately, when I try to pray, all I can think about are the Hollowborn all over the city, the grieving families, the refugees. She shakes her head. How can Margaret allow us to suffer like this? What strength do we gain from a soulless child? Durrance grunts with disdain. What strength do we gain from adversity, from trial and test? The fires don't wither because she lacks in faith. They wither because she does not understand how to be faithful to a whore. This man is so trying. A whore wants neither praise nor devotion. A whore wants to be compensated for her services, and Magrin is paid, pleasured in sweat and struggle and pain. This mewling imbecile is unworthy of Magrin's womanly heat. Durrance, you make me say such terrible things. Take heart, and don't abandon your faith too easily. She nods hopefully, her hands clasped together. You're right. Unfortunately, I believe Magrin's been speaking to me again. She casts a quick glance in your direction. Lately I've been seeing visions. A place in the wilderness, with pools filled with sunbursts of color. Strange falls that seem to rise into the heavens even while they splash into the earth. She raises her hands as if forming an image of her vision, and behind the falls is a cave, filled with fire and heat and danger, and some token of my goddess. I know there's something there, but where is it? Where it is, or how I'd get there, she shakes her head. I've been meaning to ask around at the exhibition hall, to see if anyone recognizes the description. To be honest, though, I don't know what I'd do even if I found the place. Huh! Worthless like so many of Magrin's flock, afraid of her god's tests. If Magrin speaks to her, it is to hasten an end to a hypocrite's life, and this vision is surely a death trap for the weak. I'd like to know more about the temple here. Magrin is the most revered goddess among us Drywoodians, so it's no surprise that her temple is part of the ducal palace. Her fires symbolize trials, revolutions, and the blazing of new paths, all of which are important to us. She gestures to the statue. This is the first of the sacred pyres. When this is lit, so are the rest around the city. What is the significance of the sacred pyres? They symbolize Magrin's power and guidance, and right now, the people of Defiance Bay need to be sure of her presence. She crosses her arms, staring at the statue. Our neighbors in the Valian republics see us as superstitious, but we're just sensitive to the signs and warnings of the gods. Well, I'm going to finish exploring this place, but I don't think there's too much I can do here. Oh, I want to open that chest so bad. Hey, do you mind if I just, like... Oh, I can just walk in here. Hello, sir.
Hail, traveler.
A Tatarian man with graying hair pores over a tomb he's just withdrawn from one of the shelves. He glances up at you with baggy eyes. Yes, is there something I can pull for you? I'm looking for militia records from the time of the Saints' War, trying to find out what happened to someone. The man clears his throat. Well, we've had a number of inquiries about such information. I'm afraid we've had to bar access to the public. Seems there was quite a number of folk in Direwood who bear ill will toward Red Carrions. It would be irresponsible to surrender their names to just anyone. Many came here to settle as refugees. Perhaps if you were more established in Defiance Bay, things would be different. But I have no reason to suspect you to be any different from the others. I could just take it. We've come a long way. I just need to find out about my brother. I don't even know what side he fought for. You must understand. I've heard many such stories. I'm afraid there is nothing I can do for you. We'll just become popular. Don't even worry about it. And we start by becoming popular by not beating up the records keeper and giving a knife to a small boy. It's just that simple.
Slow and silent.
Don't even worry. And stealing. Oh my god, I hope this doesn't trigger a whole bunch of bad things. Nice. Can I go in there? Oh, well, that's the end of that. And then I will explore, oh, the Crucible Keep and the Emissary, I guess, on Tuesday. That's gonna have to be it for me today. I cannot stay any longer. I have obligations elsewhere. But thank you so very, very much for watching. We're slowly but surely getting through it. There's so much reading. It takes me forever. We did very little today, but it's interesting. We died. We killed a whole bunch of people. Oh, yes. I've never actually done a raid before, but let's go. Let me open up my raid channel stuff. Let's see. Mama Moss. There we go. Phasmotopia. Alright, let's go visit Mama Moss. There we go. I think this is working.
Okay, hang on. Hold on. Hang on a second. I'm gonna throw another camera. Put that there. Oop, wrong one. I'm gonna throw this here. Let this. Turn that on. Uh-huh. Okay. See, part of me is wondering, because I hear it throwing stuff here too. Let's see. Let's check which one has the ghost orbs, because I have a feeling that not only is tonight gonna be a good night, but we're also gonna have some ghost orbs. No, don't make them hand over their Pokemon cards. Those things are valuable. Okay, let's see. We got 3 going here. I might have gone a little crazy. Because I swear, like, I'm sure you guys know, sometimes the ghost doesn't really, it can't decide where it wants to be. So sometimes it's in more than, it's kind of in the corner of 2 rooms. Let me go get the thermometer again. I think I left it in there. So it's very handy. Part of me wonders if it's either an Oni or if it is something else, like poltergeist. We'll put some salt down in both locations, I think. That should help. Actually, what we can do is actually check both rooms, and we'll go from there. Alright, what you got? Oh, that's a hand. Yeah, it's that one. So I wonder if it's this front area. We were entirely wrong. Let's see. Ooh. That would explain why it was making some... Ah! Okay. Okay. Hang on. Touching all of this, so... Let me go fetch my stuff. I'm gonna turn this camera around. That should show us everything we need to see. Because if it's touching that door over there, and it's probably here. Oh, see, and it also turned off the breaker. Yeah, this thing's in the front room. I can't believe I missed that. Silly me. Okay. So, Casa, what did you just stream? Did you stream anything fun? It's probably more fun than doing... Okay, well, you guys might have fun watching it. I'm scared senseless by this sort of thing. Let's see. I'm gonna throw this in there. Okay. Ooh! Oh! Good choices! I really like Hades. That's the one I've been playing most recently. But then I've been doing World Painter as well. So, what do you like to play? Or, what do you like to play? What weapon do you like to use for your... for Hades? Are you here? Nothing. Are you here? Are you a boy? Are you a... Okay. Time out. Time out. Okay. Ghost fingerprints. See, for me, I usually... Oh, yes. I really like Spear. Honestly, Spear is really fun. Mostly because you can stand in one corner and hit Hydra and it can't it can't hit you back. It's cheesy. I know, I can't help it. Everyone loves cheese. Cheese is delicious. But recently I've fallen in love with that fist. I forgot the name of it. Forgive me, I'm sorry. But the fist, because I like to put Doom on it. Doom and deflect, and it like completely ripperoni their pepperoni. Exactly. Okay. Ares Doom is amazing, especially when you get it all set up. Magnifique. Let's see, we'll try that too. So part of me thinks that it might actually be this area. Oh, I haven't tried the cast yet. Some people were telling me it's slow, but I think with the proper buffs, it might be pretty good. I'll have to try that next time. Do you use it for spear or for shield? There. We'll walk around with this EMF. It's gotta beep. No, 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 I heard it turn off the lights. Did you hear that? It flicked the lights. Not a fan. But surprisingly, the EMF is not going off. Ooh. We could probably make it do something. Hang on. Let's see. Oh. Ooh. Oh, okay. You know, I always had a hard time with Hades' laser beam, so I imagine if I can use the laser beam against my enemies, I'd be much happier. Turnabout's fair play, daddy-o. Let's see. Huh. Dang, this ghost... I'm beginning to think it's not a ghost orb ghost. And it seems to be... we definitely have fingerprints. Poltergeist, Banshee, Revenant. Revenant would stink. Not gonna lie. Those things are kind of smelly. What do we need for that? Revenant would be EMF 5, and we don't have EMF. This thing is jumping up a lot, though, so maybe it is. Oh, yeah, no worries! Oh, wait, are you running the new stuff? Catch this. We'll see. See, I used to play as a Dragoon on Final Fantasy. Ooh, good luck! I've been trying to... Oh! You startled me! I'm so sorry! Thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate it. Ooh, turn on the radio. Alright, I'll see ya. Alright, what you doing in there? So it's